Welcome back to Coffee Unlimited with J and D. I am here with my good friend Janelle Acker, and we are just giggly because we spent the last few minutes talking about what are we going to talk about on this episode, and we decided that we want to talk about our relationships. What's worked? We've both been in long-term relationships with our husbands, over 20 years of marriage. We have kids. We have been through a lot with our partners. And so we thought it might be kind of fun to pull back the curtain and talk about what has worked in our relationships, what expectations we had, and what expectations we had to evolve as well, just to keep the lights on here, just to keep going. I don't know if we're going to be able to
Get through
not
this.
laugh through this
Yeah.
entire episode. But anyway, we are so happy to be here talking about this conversation. And I'd love to start with you, Janelle. If you were to share,
Mhm.
what were some of the expectations you had in a
Mm.
relationship? And how have they evolved now, being in
Yeah.
this long-term committed relationship?
Yeah. And I am still giggling because we only just got on this call a few minutes before we started recording, and we brought up this topic. And even in that short amount of time, you and I just sharing these stories of how the relationships evolved. I've been giggling since, just like you said, we've been giggling. And I do want to bring up one that I did share with you that I think perhaps is relatable. But when Carl and I first were dating and then married, I okay, actually let me pull back. Let me pull back to just my expectations of relationships in general. I have only been in three relationships in my entire life. I had a high school boyfriend for 3.5 years. I had a college boyfriend slash fiance for 3.5 years. And then I have been with Carl since. So three relationships total in my life. And an expectation I put on every single one is that I must be on a pedestal. I must be adored and on this pedestal of yours, and that I must be the only one on the pedestal. I will not share this pedestal with anybody else, and I must know at all times that I am the one on your pedestal.
I love this.
And yeah, yeah,
I,
I don't know
I think this is a
yeah.
good expectation. I hope my daughters are listening, and this is absolutely true. And I hope this has not evolved for you, Janelle.
Yeah. So that's why I've only been in three relationships because if anyone was interested in me, and I got to know them and I could quickly see that their attention would I would have to share their attention with other hobbies or other individuals, it was a no because I needed to be their entire world. And so anyway, when Carla and I were dating, this was already at the end of my college years, is when Carl and I started dating. And you may remember, actually, I think I've shared this, that at least with you, that our first year of our relationship was long distance because
Mhm.
I was going to grad school in Scotland and Carl was still in Portland. And so what that entailed, that just meant that I was gone a lot. And then my first job too, after I came back from Scotland, was an admissions counselor for the University of Portland. And that involved a lot of travel. I would travel to Hawaii and Guam and Kansas and these various places to recruit students. So I was gone a lot, and that meant that I came home a lot. And one of my well, I don't even know if it was an expectation, but it became an expectation because Carl always did it. He always picked me up at the airport when I got home.
Mm.
I always knew on that after being away for a week or 2 days or whatever, that as soon as I came out of the gate, or the area where people would be waiting, I always knew Carl would be waiting there. and probably would have been waiting for quite a while. Like he got there early to make sure that he didn't miss me, and he would just be there with this big smile, ready to welcome me home, give me a big hug. And I loved that. I loved knowing that he was going to be there. Can I tell you, I remember the exact trip when I came home and he wasn't there
Oh my gosh.
because my disappointment that he wasn't there and that he assumed I could get a cab home. I thought,
Wait.
what
So I want to pause.
WTF?
I
Yes.
want to pause 1 second. How many years was it into the relationship when he stopped, or that one time that he didn't pick
Hmm.
you up?
I think it was about 7 years in.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So he did come for 7 years to pick you up
Yeah.
at the airport. Okay. That part you never shared
I
with me,
didn't say
Janelle.
that before.
It's just, yeah, bypass all the 7 years, the
7 years of
number
being
of
picked up at
times.
the airport.
Yeah. Okay. So
And
seven
then
years
all of
in.
a sudden, Danielle, he didn't miss me enough to pick me up at the airport because that's what I made it mean. I made it in my
Mm.
head. It meant that he didn't miss me enough and that now I could find my own way back to our apartment or wherever, wherever we're living. And that it was good enough that we would see each other there. And I'm pretty sure he hasn't really picked me up since, unless I specifically ask him to.
Hmm.
He'll pick me up. But for the longest time, like I said, I was really disappointed when I realized he wasn't there. And then I texted and something came up for him. He was busy and he thought I could just grab a taxi home. And I was kind of pouting the whole way home. I didn't say anything to him. I didn't tell him that I was disappointed. I didn't tell him how upset I was because I knew I would have another trip where he could redeem himself. He could show me again how much I meant. And then that next trip, he wasn't there again. And then he just got comfortable not picking me up.
Hmm. Hmm.
And so I laugh about it now because in hindsight now, many, many years later, I realize how that he actually Carl loves me a lot and he shows me in a million different ways.
Yes.
And in my head, that I had built up all these like you said, I built up these expectations and how he's shown me in a variety of different ways, new ways that he loves me when he's always has my back. He always has my side.
Hmm.
When someone has done me wrong, I know that even if I might be in the wrong, he'll take my side. Or,
Yeah.
when I was going through depression, he was so patient. He was always there. He was looking for ways in which he could support me. That wasn't something in the early stages of a relationship he had to deal with or that he had to navigate.
Yeah.
But then when that time came, he showed me in a million ways how much he was there for me and how much he cared for me. And what I've realized now in hindsight is that over the years, early on, let's say the first 10 years of a relationship, every new way that he showed me he loved me, I would basically add it to the list of the things that he had to keep doing. It wasn't that it was going to replace a previous way. It was that, oh, now he can do this. And now he's cooking for me. Now he's going to be cooking for me to show me that he loves me. And I was just creating this unrealistic expectation of our relationship and the way in which we would show each other that we care for each other.
Mm.
That as I don't know, maybe cracks started to happen where I would have an expectation that wouldn't happen. At the time, I would think, oh, it means this, means that he doesn't think about me as much as he used to, or he's not uh, thinking about ways to show me that he loves me. When in reality, that wasn't true at all. And in hindsight now, after 23 years that we've been together, I actually I'm a little embarrassed at how immature I was, when I would think, oh, this just means he doesn't care about me, and oh, maybe our relationship is fizzling, or maybe we're in a rut, and that
Hmm.
this isn't going to work, and in reality, it's that the way in which we love each other has evolved And now I think I have uh, such a peace of mind knowing that he's there for me and such a home in him
Mm.
that is worth more than any kind of other way of showing affection or even just passion. When you think about beginning of a relationship, it's so passionate. Now he shows me a love that isn't the same as passion, but it's better than passion
Mm-hmm.
even. This real home that I have in him. And it's I'm so glad that we've stuck it out so that I can
Mm-hmm.
actually see the different ways in which we care for each other and actually learn that there are many ways in a relationship to show the care and love and respect and the things that I thought when I was in my 20s that show that
Yeah.
that were affirmations of love. Maybe they were affirmations of love then, and now there's different ways to show affirmations of love that are deeper
Mm-hmm.
and maybe more meaningful. And so it's been interesting to reminisce about those, the way it's
Mm-hmm.
evolved, the way love has evolved over time.
I love that. And I love that you didn't divorce Carl after he didn't pick you up.
Because he stopped picking me up.
He stopped being Uber for you. And
Yeah.
instead, yeah, I mean, how beautiful that you called him home,
Mm,
right? It's just like,
yeah.
yeah, it's so much deeper than the beginnings of a relationship or these expectations we have. But when you were
Mhm.
talking about these expectations, because I have a whole or had a whole bunch of expectations as well of how a man should be in the relationship or, how my boyfriend should be treating me. And I was trying to think, okay, where did I get this from? And now I feel like I love reading romance. Well, I love reading romance thrillers. So there's a little bit of a twist in there too. But I mean, these characters, these fictional, I have to remember that these are fictional male characters that
Mm.
do not exist.
Hmm.
But I'm reading them and I'm looking over, I'm on my Kindle and I look over at Scott and Ben. I'm like, how come you can't be a little bit more like
Yeah.
this guy over here who's like, leaving his job and running across the street, like just like, running through the airport trying to catch me and then like yelling and then getting down on his knees, like the pedestal, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
It's like, okay, actually, a person this is not a real person,
Mm.
which I need to, remind myself. But I think when I was in my 20s, I thought, oh, that is the ideal partner. Somebody
Mm.
who cares so much they're going to drop everything for you anytime, regardless. You're the number one priority in their lives. And it's like they're obsessed with you. But now I
Yeah.
think if somebody were to do that to me, I'd be like, I need to run away from you. This.
Scary. I totally agree with you. I totally get it. I used to be incredibly jealous. I used to be a person who would get really jealous of Carl's coworkers, specifically coworkers, I think, and unrealistically jealous. And I'm not anymore. I actually really have let that go. And I remember about, I don't know, maybe 5 years ago, I was thinking back to my crazy jealous days and I was trying to figure out why I would be so jealous, like how silly it was to act that way.
Mm.
And I think part of it was I used to be a perfectionist and in that I actually was pretty perfect. To be
That's
honest.
right.
I mean, not trying to toot my own horn, but I will. I was pretty good at a lot of things. I was a straight A student. I was really good in sports. I was successful in my jobs. And and I was oftentimes considered the best in the room at something.
I love it, Janelle. I mean, let's
And
just pause for a moment and celebrate you and your perfection. I mean,
my
I think
perfection.
you were a catch, you still are a catch. I mean, you are the whole package. Not
Well,
only,
thank you.
yeah, not only are you this wonderful mother and partner and beautiful inside and out, you're also self-sufficient. You can pay your own bills too.
I pay my own bills. But so I used to
You're a
be,
catch.
I knew that I was good at a lot of things.
Yeah.
And then where I started to get jealous is if Carl worked with people or met people that were better than me in something,
Oh
better than
no.
me in a specific sport, better than me, maybe funnier than me, or I thought they were funnier than me.
Yeah.
And it could just be one aspect. And
Mm-hmm.
if that one aspect I thought that they were better than me, I would be incredibly jealous. And I would think that Carl really liked that about them and that he thought they were better than me. Like that's really what I thought it was. Like if he thought that they were funnier than me or smarter than me or better at basketball than
Yeah.
I was so jealous that I could barely contain myself, that how jealous I would get. And now, part of, I think, because one of the reasons why I don't get jealous is I've let go of perfectionism. I've let
Oh.
go of this need to be better than other people or think that I am smarter, funnier, prettier, whatever it might be
Mm-hmm.
than another woman. And because I've let that go, I don't have jealousy anymore, which is really,
Wow.
it's really been great for our relationship because it was a pain point of our relationship. I know that Carl was often trying to make sure that I didn't feel jealous. He would
Mm.
go out of his way to make sure that I wasn't insecure about a situation or a person. And he was really going out of his way because I would get pretty crazy. I would get, without any detail, I was pretty wild.
Oh my gosh. I feel like, I mean, this connection between perfectionism and jealousy. Wow, what a insight.
Mm. And it only really occurred to me now, like just talking it through with you, because this is actually a topic I don't talk about often
Yeah,
because
yeah.
it's embarrassing to talk about how jealous I would get. And also, I don't know, I don't really talk about this with other people, like my relationship with Carl or anything like that. And it really was just talking this through with you that I realized the connection of what I would get jealous about is if someone was better than me. And then
Mm-hmm.
thinking about why does that bother me that someone is better than me in one
Yeah.
thing, like why does that bother me so much? But it was because I had this really unhealthy attachment to perfectionism and being the best and making sure that Carl saw me as
Mm-hmm.
the best at whatever it
I
was.
wonder if it's, I mean, for me, listening to you, I feel like it has nothing to do with Carl.
Yeah. Yeah, you're
And
probably
it's like
right. Yeah.
Carl was just like a placeholder, for that,
Mm-hmm.
like, being the best for your mom. I feel like you could replace
Mm-hmm.
Carl with anyone close in your family.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Mhm.
Or even a boss, like
Oh, right.
yeah, anything. Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
really good point.
You know what
So
though,
that's
with that jealousy
interesting.
thing, Janelle, I feel like it's also youth. Right. Like, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I was so jealous too in my 20s. I mean, you and Carl have been together for so long. I mean, you met when you were really young too. But yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
remember being so jealous of my ex because he was a performer as well. And
Mm.
we were in the same shows together. One of the shows was Miss Saigon. And I mean, especially in the musical theater world, it's pretty much 90% gay, maybe 95%. And so there aren't a lot of straight men in the
Mm.
cast. So, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
if you're a straight man and you want to have a lot of opportunities, I feel like go into the
Musical theater.
field of musical theater. Go there because you will have more opportunities there than probably anywhere else.
Hmm.
But so there were so many women who, liked him or just flirted with him or whatever. And I mean, in Miss Saigon, our costumes, we were supposed to be prostitutes. So we were wearing bikinis with no
Yeah.
stockings. I just remember that too. Like I couldn't get over the fact that I wasn't wearing stockings. That was the biggest thing for me. Like,
Yeah.
how can we walk around in bikinis
Yeah.
without tights? This is crazy. And then, I mean, gyrate and shake your
Yeah.
booty and all this kind of stuff. And so anytime like I wasn't with him on stage because we had different parts and stuff, and he had to be hanging out with another actor who was gyrating, in her swimsuit and looking fabulous. And she was fun and cute too. So I was like, oh my gosh,
I would not be able to handle that. I
it
really
was
wouldn't
tough.
have.
It was tough. And he couldn't relate at all because
Mm.
the person who I was gyrating with was gay, right? So it's like, okay, even if I wanted to go there, he's not going to
Yeah.
want to go there. So anyway,
Yeah.
but
I
I
think
think it's youth too.
it is a youth thing as well. And our insecurities when we are young. I
Yeah.
think that I think humans are just naturally so insecure that it takes years of experience and gaining wisdom to realize how silly our insecurities are, or how
Hmm.
silly our pursuit of perfectionism is.
Totally.
Hmm. Yeah.
So
I'm
what's one
curious.
thing? Yeah. Okay, you
Well,
go.
I wanted to hear from you, Danielle, around, communication. How do you and Scott communicate, and do you communicate in the same way? Because as I think everyone would agree that communication is such a big part of any relationship, whether it's a romantic relationship or a friendship or a family relationship. A lot
Hmm.
of things break down around communication. And
Right.
I'm curious, how healthy is your communication with Scott? Or is that something that you've had to work on?
That's such a good question. When you were talking about Carl not picking you up from the airport and you hadn't told him,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that it's healthy or not healthy,
Mm-hmm.
but I would have, and again, not healthy or healthy, I would
Mm-hmm.
have called Scott up immediately and be like, where the fuck are you? Did you not miss me? Like,
Yes. Did you
what are
get the
you
time
doing?
wrong?
Yeah,
Is
exactly.
there a lot of traffic?
Well, because I was so mad at him the other day. Well, it wasn't the other day, it was like months ago when I went
Uh-huh.
to Zurich. And so I was
Mm-hmm.
on this international flight. Scott does pick me up because we do live like almost an hour away from the airport. And so I expect that he picks me up and he better freaking be on time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't care how many times he has to circle the airport, but
Mm-hmm.
he needs to be there. He doesn't need to park, but he just needs to be there
Yeah.
as I'm coming out. And maybe this is like an expectation I need to release. But he wasn't there. He was late. And so, of course, I called him up. I was like, I have just got off a plane from a work trip at 12 hours. I've had a 15-hour day. And where the F are you? So that's how we communicate. I mean, no filter. I just
Yeah.
get mad at him when I'm upset. The good thing is that like you, I feel like you and Scott have this in common, is that the two of you are like de-escalators. Scott knows how to de-escalate me. So instead of like trying to argue with me or get like all riled up, he's like, I know, sorry, just hit this traffic. I'm gonna be there soon. So already his tone kind of starts to
Mm-hmm.
de-escalate me.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I feel like there's a balance in terms of our energies. Like when I think about Ayurveda, and I didn't think we are going to be talking about Ayurveda at all in this segment about
That's
relationships.
what I love about our show.
Right. But I feel like it's really interesting to learn about it's like the personality type, right?
Yeah.
And so if you have somebody who's a little bit more fiery temperamentally, and then you have somebody who's a little bit more cooling, they're going to work a little better. And so
Mm.
knowing your Ayurvedic mind body constitution or your personality type can be something really helpful. So I am a little bit more like air and fire, and Scott's a little bit more, he has more water. Like he's more grounded than I am.
Interesting.
So when I'm
Yeah.
like, ideating or, scorching with my temper, he can kind of he can bring me down to earth which sometimes I don't appreciate, as I know you and I
Yeah.
have talked about, because I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
no, let's fly together. Let's,
Yeah.
start to do this fun thing. And he's like,
Yeah.
oh, we have responsibilities like a dog. What are we going to do about this? But we balance each other out. I think if I
Mm,
had married somebody who was similar to me, I just don't think that would have worked out. I think I
that's
would
really
have,
interesting.
yeah, I need a de-escalator.
It makes a lot of sense. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Do you believe that opposites attract?
I kind of do. Like, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
this Scott's kind of the opposite of me
Mm-hmm.
in some, in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
Do you
Yeah.
feel like you and Carl are kind of like that too?
Well, actually, Carl and I are very similar.
Mm.
So here's the thing. I used to believe that opposites attracted. Uh, yeah, opposites attract. I think that there's an attraction in opposites for me. So I do think everyone is probably different in what works for them. I think maybe there's an attraction around opposites, but what I learned in, having three serious relationships, what for me was that I needed someone that was like me. I did. I needed someone that was more like me, and at least um, some of the I mean, actually, maybe it was just in values. And you probably would agree that values are important to be the
Oh
same,
yeah.
like your deep
That's
down
where
values.
we're
Yeah.
totally aligned in our values, like
Yeah.
health, money, family,
Yeah.
what we prioritize.
Yeah.
But in terms of
Now,
like, he's
now
not,
that,
he's not a
yeah,
performer,
yeah, yeah.
even though he
Now that
claims
I
he's a
think
dancer.
about it, now that I think about it, it is actually our Carl and I have different interests, different interests and different personalities. So that is very different in that we approach problem solving very differently.
Mm.
We also have a lot of different interests. He's a mountain guy, I'm a beach girl. And there was a point where I thought that that was going to be a bad thing. Like I thought that he was going to want me to be skiing with him all the time and that he was going to be disappointed when I didn't want to. But actually, he doesn't mind at all. I mean, I think I think it would be fun for him if we skied together, but for him, that's not a deal breaker by any means. And
Hmm.
then going back to the jealousy, I remember I was jealous when one of his coworkers was this big skier and that, they would always be talking about where they went skiing and stuff like that. And I thought, oh no, he's going to wish I was like that. And he's going to wish that he was with her so they could
Isn't
ski
that
together.
funny?
How silly, right? Like skiing is the only thing he does or something, you know?
That's right.
Yeah,
Oh my
it's the only
gosh.
thing he cares about. No,
Yeah.
it's not. So now that I think about it, we have a lot of different interests. However, our core values are the same. And that's
Hmm.
why we really, really work, is because our core values are the same. So, yeah, I think it's as similar to you.
Yeah, I think
Mm-hmm.
if our core values were different, like when I think I
Mm-hmm.
shared this in one of our podcasts, but with my ex, he was a smoker.
Mm.
And I was like, okay, his value of health is different from mine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it was just like, oh, I don't know if this is like a non-negotiable,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
I get that. Well, I was thinking about when we were talking about how did we make these work for so long? How did we make these
Mm,
relationships work for 20 plus years? And going back to communication, I naturally have a really hard time saying what I need with Carl or saying what bothers me. So, for instance, I really did. I don't think, you know what? I don't know if I've ever told Carl that it bothered me that he wasn't picking me up and that he
wow.
just decided. I don't think, like, if he were to listen to this podcast, I think he'd be genuinely shocked. I think he would be because I don't think I've ever brought it up. There's a lot
Oh
of
my
things.
gosh.
I'm so non-confrontational as in general, which you might find surprising because I can
Yes.
actually
I'm
confront
like,
someone too. It's
what?
just certain situations. It's just certain things that I have trouble opening up about or saying what I need. Probably it's like really coming down to what I need that I have trouble. And that was really hard for Carl because he loves to talk things through and he wants to resolve things. And so he would know that something was on my mind or bothering me, but I was like a wall. I wouldn't say it. And that was
Mm,
really hard for him. And so one tool that we developed from Lululemon, actually, you might remember this. Remember MERPS, MERPS, MERPS?
that
Dave
sounds so
Phillips brought
familiar.
it. So it stands for mental, emotional, relationships, physical, and spiritual. And what
Mm,
we would do is MERPS, you would check in. So we'd be at a team meeting and you'd go around the table and check in on how are you doing with in MERPS, mental, emotional. And you didn't have to necessarily talk about every aspect of your life, but just say what's on your mind. Like, how are you doing
mhm,
mentally today? How are you doing emotionally today? How are your relationships? How are you doing physically? How are you doing spiritually? And so I saw the benefit of opening up at work in that way. So I brought it home. I actually told Carl, hey, why don't we try this thing out? Like every Friday, we check in with each other because I thought that would be a way for me to open up about how I was feeling
yeah.
about things. If we had a designated time that I could be prepared and he also was opening up about how he was doing, and I was opening about how I was doing. So we did. I like explained. I'm like, hey, there's this thing. It's MERPS. It stands for mental, emotional, relationship, physical, spiritual. And then Carl, Carl immediately was like, well, couldn't it be sperm? Like that's the same sperm. And I was like, uh, of course you would. I'm like, yeah, I guess, yeah, I guess so. And it was so funny because I'd been doing it for over a year at work and it never occurred to me that it could be sperm. But yeah, so sperm, MERPS, whatever, however order you want to check in. But we started doing that and we don't still do it. We don't do it anymore. But it was a really helpful tool at the time to
Mm,
help me open up about how I was doing emotionally, how I was doing mentally
hmm.
because I wouldn't share. I wouldn't share when things were weighing on me. I wouldn't share when I was stressed about something or that something at work was bothering me or that I was sad about something. I was always holding it in. And that ritual of every Friday night, we would sit down, just the two of us, and we would go through the letters and say how we were doing. And I learned a lot about him too. I learned a lot about the things that was weighing on his mind that I had no idea or the physical side, like I learned that how important mountain biking was to him. When he didn't get around to mountain biking, or he didn't have time for mountain biking, it really affected him in a
Hmm.
lot of ways. And I had no idea until he shared that with me on one of our MERPS check-ins. So that's just a tool
Wow.
that I found really helpful for our relationship. And like I said, we don't use it anymore, but at the time, it was a real lifesaver for us to open up with each other.
I feel like probably I'm making this assumption, but when you two were at Lululemon, your kids were a lot younger too. And
Yeah, they were.
I think
Mhm.
having that tool, because, as we were talking before we started recording this, I mean, when your kids are young, the conversations are really like highly logistical. Are you picking them up
Yes.
here? Where it's like, and it's not really about depth or what do you want or how am I feeling? Am I satisfied in this area of our relationship? Like those kind of conversations, I feel really need to be intentionally had when you're so busy caring for children.
That's a really good point. Yeah, just making the time. Because there were, now that I think about it, there may have been times where I wanted to ask for help or tell him I was like feeling really overwhelmed, but I didn't, there wasn't a good time to bring it up.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like this was the right time, or oh, he's busy, or oh, he's dealing with this at work, or something. I just didn't think it was the right time. And because we had it basically scheduled for
Yeah.
Fridays,
Mm-hmm.
there was always time for it. That's a really good
Mm,
point.
I
Yeah.
love that.
Mm-hmm.
If we were gonna, I mean, I'm trying to think, is there a takeaway, like a bottom line that we want to
Mm.
share? Maybe if there was
Yeah.
something that is there advice that you would give your 22-year-old self about relationships
Yeah.
and what keeps them going?
Well, I was watching a K-drama recently called Beyond the Bar, and there was an episode, it's towards the end. of the season where there's a gentleman on the show and he talks about his relationship with his wife. And he uses a metaphor of, because it was a long relationship too, a long marriage. He uses this metaphor of a rainbow and how he learned that love is a rainbow. Love with a partner is a rainbow where it'll start off red, where it's like really full of passion. And then it goes to orange, which is warmth. And this relationship has a lot of warmth between the two people. And then yellow is happiness. And then red, orange, yellow. Green was peace. And blue was trust, I think. And then indigo was depth. And when I heard that, it really struck me. I think I remember this episode and I remember feeling a little emotional, a little gratitude for this relationship that I had with Carl that has experienced all those colors of the rainbow.
Mm-hmm.
And then I recalled moments where our relationship was maybe at the peace stage. And in my mind, I thought that that meant we were in a rut because it was like we were peaceful and we were going through our days with peace, but there wasn't a lot of passion or there wasn't a lot of laughter, but there was peace. But I thought that it meant that we were losing the spark of our
Mm-hmm.
relationship. And I remember being a little bit worried that our relationship didn't have the spark. When in now, in hindsight, and even with this metaphor of, it doesn't mean that we didn't have as deep of love. It just evolved. It manifested in a different way that was just as deep and just as important. And I really like looking at it that way. It makes me look at our relationship in a whole new way and thinking that this is where we're at now. This is who we are for each other and our kids. And it's beautiful in whatever shape that it is. And there isn't any one way that it has to be. And that it does evolve. It does look differently at different times, and that's okay. It doesn't always have to be red and passionate, or it doesn't always have to be yellow, happy and laughing all the time. And that's
Mm-hmm.
okay.
Yeah. Oh, that's so
Yeah.
beautiful. I want
Mm.
to start thinking. I mean, as you were sharing that, I was thinking about the depth of my relationship with Scott too, and exploring all of those different colors of the rainbow. That's so
Mm-hmm.
beautiful.
And just having real gratitude for being able to experience all the different colors. We're
Mm-hmm.
lucky in many ways that we've had these long relationships that have had, as some might describe, ups and downs. But now I can think about it, it's not ups and downs necessarily. It's just these different versions of love and different versions of um, companionship and
Mm-hmm.
partnership, really,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is really cool. So, yeah, well, thanks so much for this topic, Danielle. When you suggested it today, I thought, yeah, let's go there. We haven't talked about our relationships. And oh my gosh, have I learned a lot about myself and what it means to be a partner over time. So thanks for the topic. Thanks to everybody who listened in once again. If you want to make sure that you know when all of our episodes drop, make sure that you subscribe. And you can always find us on Instagram if you want to share a question or a comment. We're on Instagram, Coffee Unlimited with J and D. Until next time, bye.